Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you so much for getting on the call today for our Shakeology Shakedown. So it'll be the first of honestly many calls. And the biggest premise for this is, as we are, working on being proof of the product and really helping our coaches and our clients, we really want to be just as knowledgeable as possible to really work with others on their health journey. I know that I'm not a certified nutritionist, I'm not a certified fitness expert, but we have all these tools and resources for us. So what better way than to really dive in to know and learn the most we can to better serve others. And when I was talking to one of our discount coaches on our team, Brianna, which I've known for many years, we reconnected after she says she stalked me on Facebook and saw one of our coaches on our team, like her results. She was just so confident, and just the way she presented her research in regard to Shakeology, I just knew that she would be such a wonderful, person to talk to us about it. And so I guess kind of without further ado, we're just going to get into what is Shakeology, what's in it. We're going to talk about some weird ingredients, and this is going to be, again, the first of a few calls, but I think it's important to really dive into not just Google research. This really needs to be credible research. And I think we picked the right person for that. So I'm going to unmute Brianna, and she's going to start chatting with us.
Hey, can you hear me? All right. So I'm Brianna. I am a registered nurse. I work actually in the emergency department, but I have a pretty extensive background in both acute patient rehab, home health, and informatics. I decided about 2 years ago to go back to school. So in 8 weeks, I will be an adult gerontology acute care nurse practitioner. I deal specifically with adults in the older population. And a lot of the great things about going back to school for me have been learning a lot about research. Nursing and healthcare in general are really driven by the idea that all of our practice should be based in evidence, and that evidence has to come from legitimate research, from legitimate, sources, in places that are reviewed by peers. So a lot of what we do is we, do the research, and then we basically give it to people to say, hey, look at this, and is this true, and can I reproduce this? Is this something that, is accurate and I can tell people, and that I can use both in the hospital and in patients' homes, in the clinic. And so a lot of my background is in doing that, and that is definitely how I approached researching the ingredients that are in Shakeology. I did spend a good deal of time before I was willing to commit, and so I have talked to Angie a lot just about the stuff that I've read before really deciding to coach. I am like a legit discount coach. I don't really sell this, which, in the future I'm hoping to change. At this point in my life, I just don't have the capacity to do that. I do obviously recommend it to people. I pass out Angie's business cards because that is, it is a product that I want people to use. It's just I'm not in a position to provide good support for other people other than to just say that, it's a product I believe in. It's a product I use myself, with my kids, with my husband, as much as I can make him drink it. But, for this call, one of the things Angie and I have really talked about is the idea that, we want to give people some legitimate sources. After the call, in our Facebook page, we are going to be able to I'm going to put up the list of resources that I used for this call to kind of build the evidence behind the ingredients that are in Shakeology. You are going to see me go back and forth. I've got a ton of information, and I'm not good at memorizing things. So you'll see me kind of go back and forth between the call and my computer. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about is the idea of research and how I obtained the material that I did. Through the hospital, I do have a lot of access to peer-reviewed information. And through school, I have a huge database that I'm able to look through. So some of the information you'll see is going to be from that. In what I have learned about research, you have various levels of research that kind of legitimize what you're looking at. Obviously, at the top of that, you have what are called systematic reviews. As much as possible, those are kind of what you want to look at. They take first-round studies and they review them, sometimes in the thousands. to be able to say this is reproducible in different areas of research. It is considered the most legitimate source is to be part of a systematic review. A lot of the information that you're going to see with Shakeology is not going to be that. And that can sometimes be really discouraging, but as a whole, a lot of what we look at is complementary and alternative medicine. And you do see a lot of Chinese-based complementary and alternative medicine in the research. A lot of what is in Shakeology is considered complementary and alternative therapy. And so you don't have as much money put into it, to be honest. And so you're not going to see a great deal of systematic research done. You do see a lot of first-time studies, a lot of stuff that is legitimate, that is peer-reviewed, but not quite as strong a source. Now, that being said, you also don't have systematic reviews against it. So it's, there is kind of a balance there where you're looking at articles and you're looking at studies that are done, and you're not going to see really evidence for or against it. Some of it is in areas that are really common sense, that we know for sure, okay, we know this is good for us. We don't necessarily have to have a study saying that it is. And you may see that you have studies that say, we couldn't find a correlation between this and cardiovascular health, but, we know that the body needs vitamins, minerals, nutrients, protein. So a lot of this is very common sense stuff as well. As far as the normal stuff, excuse me, I've got a cough. Okay, as far as the normal stuff that's in Shakeology, I basically made it easy. If you can pronounce it, I put it on the normal stuff list. I didn't want to make it super complicated, what's hard to figure out. So I kind of separated it into the proteins. We do have a couple different kinds of protein that are in. You have whey protein, you have pea protein, you have everybody's favorite, the Incan peanut, which is the Sacha Inchi that's in it. And I mentioned this to Angie, but I'll share it with you as well. I'm a great reader. I'm not a great pronouncer, so bear with me. You also, in your proteins, have chia, flax, and quinoa. That one I do know how to pronounce, quinoa. So those kind of make up all of your proteins. There are a total of 16 grams of protein in a serving of Shakeology. For this call, I dealt specifically with just, our standard Shakeology. It was a lot to go over already. I didn't feel like I could do vegan Shakeology justice by, just kind of throwing in a couple of things. I wanted to be able to really cover in depth what we were going over. So this is going to be the standard version of Shakeology. And actually, specifically when I listed ingredients, I went with the chocolate because it's what I use the most of. So research shows that a high protein diet is associated with improved I'm not going to be able to talk, I'm so sorry. Cardiometabolic response in individuals who are overweight and obese. What that means is that the idea that you can use a high protein, low calorie diet and you can safely lose weight in aspects that are related mostly to the heart. A lot of people can lose weight a lot of different ways, and they are not always super safe. So you really want to focus on when you're talking to somebody about this product. We know that using this product through a high protein, low calorie diet can be very safe for your heart, and research shows that. The other thing that you see in research in regards to protein is that you have the idea of having a high protein and total antioxidant capacity. Those two things combined are both related to low frailty. Actually, there was a study that was done in Japan, and in the women that had a high protein and high total antioxidant capacity diet, they were actually less frail than other individuals, meaning that they had a higher level of immune function and that they had increased strength. And so those are some things to consider when you're talking to people about Shakeology specifically, because when you look at the nutritional programs, they are focused on maintaining an adequate but still low caloric count, as well as having high protein. And in addition to that, most of the weird ingredients we're going to cover today are hugely antioxidant. So you have kind of this combination that research shows is both healthy for your heart and can help keep you strong. So we're going to cover a little bit, because this is kind of the part where it gets hairy. You have a lot of people that have protein from a lot of sources, and one of the things that Shakeology does not have is soy protein. And a lot of people want to know why we don't do soy protein. One of the reasons that soy is not always an excellent source for protein is because of the type of soy that we have. Kind of like your mainstream soy has kind of a pseudoestrogen. It's actually called phytoestrogen. And it can produce, especially in men, it can produce some feminine qualities that are not necessarily what they're shooting for. If they are, soy protein is for them. And then you have also, for some women who need to maintain a lower level of estrogen, you have an increased risk for complications in conditions like cancer, breast cancer and cervical cancer specifically, and also an increased risk for heart disease. And so for that reason, we really don't focus on soy. We avoid soy in a lot of what we do. And so that's kind of just to cover that. That's why the whey protein is actually preferable in this product. For pea protein, it is actually a great source of protein, which a lot of people don't realize. Nobody really thinks about peas when they're thinking about protein. One of the great things about vegetable protein is that research shows that it actually produces a fuller feeling. People are not as hungry, and that feeling lasts longer. And so when you look at proteins, we have this combination of pea proteins and other vegetable proteins that can kind of reproduce that feeling of fullness, which is good if you're going to use it as a meal replacement, especially. So the other four protein ingredients that we talk about, you have the sacha inchi, which is the Incan peanut, is really the kind of the easiest way to look at that. And if you stink at pronouncing things like I do, Incan peanut. But it is a great source of omega-3. It is also an excellent source of protein. You do have the chia seed, flaxseed, and quinoa that are also all three very high in omega-3s, which is great for cardiovascular health. So you do see that a lot. You see a lot of people that take fish oil, which is an excellent source of omega-3. And we actually are kind of finding ways to combine protein and that benefit as well. With the chia seed, some of the research, and I wanted to get into this only to show the importance of legitimate research. There are a lot of people who talk about its benefits on cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Most of the research that I did in that area does not really validate that. That does not mean in any way that you can't benefit from it. It just means that you really have to be cautious when you're telling people that this has benefits in this area, because there is not peer-reviewed information that really legitimizes that. It is an excellent source of protein, of omega-3, of minerals and antioxidants. All of those obviously have health benefits. We just really can't speak to the benefits specifically in cardiovascular health and diabetes. With quinoa, this was one of my favorite things to read about, mostly because I know how to say it. One of the articles, and I wanted to quote it word for word just because it was so well worded, but it said that its composition has attracted the attention of the scientific community for its high nutritional value, being rich in proteins, lipids, fibers, vitamins, and minerals with an extraordinary balance of essential amino acids. It's also gluten-free, a characteristic that enables its use by celiac patients. So those are some things that you really want to kind of look at. You know, you have this idea that we want to provide good protein, but we also need to understand, you know, who's going to benefit from it. Quinoa specifically is an excellent source of nutrition, and it is a little bit pricey, which is one of the reasons that it's not like widely used in our society, because it's expensive. As far as, so that really kind of covers your proteins. There are other ingredients in Shakeology that obviously have a lot of protein, but as far as what they really focused on in adding protein to Shakeology, these are really the 6 items that are important to cover. Spinach and kale also made it onto the list of normal things. We all know that spinach and kale are good for us. We know that they are both high in iron. Most of your green leafy vegetables are going to be really high in iron. So that's, you're flashing, you okay? Okay. So being high in iron is obviously, you know, something that's good for your blood. It's excellent for it. Iron is important for oxygen transportation. So as far as within, your body when you're working out, when you're really just going to be doing anything. Oxygen is super important. And so iron helps improve the body's ability to do that. It is important to know that spinach and kale are both very high in vitamin K. This is especially important when you are going to be talking to people who take blood thinners. There are several blood thinners on the market now that this would not affect at all. But one of our old school blood thinners that a lot of people take, Coumadin, or warfarin is its generic version, it actually is affected by a high level of vitamin K and would be affected by the use of Shakeology. So when you are talking to people who have, a history of anticoagulant use, who use warfarin or Coumadin, and those are questions you should ask people when recommending this product, you do want to make sure that they are going to follow up with their doctor. It is not that they cannot take this product. They absolutely can and will benefit from Shakeology, but they do have to use it cautiously and make an appropriate transition with medication so that they are still able to use their medicine effectively, because vitamin K does reverse the effects of Coumadin and warfarin. So those are just some things to consider when you're talking to people who are starting Shakeology, who are going to be new. There are certain times where you're going to have to know, okay, you really need to talk to your doctor. And this is one of those. Okay, so that's it on normal stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff. Oh, yes, Angie, sorry.
No, you're good. So Amber just put a comment on there and she said, what about heparin?
What about heparin? Yes. Okay, so heparin is not reversed by vitamin K. So you have people that use heparin, they either inject heparin. You also have Lovenox, which is a low molecular volume of heparin, and neither one of those would be affected by vitamin K. So you can definitely use heparin in Shakeology, no problem. There should be no interaction there. That was a great question, by the way. Is everybody ready for weird stuff? Okay, so a lot of the following ingredients have a very strong base in Chinese medicine. Complementary alternative therapy, complementary alternative medicine. You'll see it abbreviated CAM. It's a huge hot topic in healthcare right now because we're finding that medication is super expensive and tears up other parts of your body when you take it, and you take medicine to take your medicine, and so people are looking for ways to maintain wellness and to improve their health through nutrition, and it's absolutely possible. And a lot of the products that are on the market are really driving that. Shakeology has got some awesome stuff in it, really high quality products that are absolutely able to be used in that way. One of the things that it's important to understand when you're doing research and you look at something and it says, oh, definitely spirulina, which is my favorite word. Just everyone, favorite word. Spirulina, it's great and it does this. You have to remember that in that particular study, they measured the amount that was used. They measured, things in whatever patient was used, whatever person participated in that study. It's very, very specific. So it's hard to necessarily say like, oh, this is definitely going to work for you and it's going to cure this. This is not medicine. This is really dense nutrition. It can support a lot of illnesses. It can support a lot of health conditions that people are able to reverse and do better. But it is definitely not something where you can recommend it to people and say, hey, take this and this is what it's going to do for you based on research. Now, definitely based on anecdote. I mean, I personally started to take Shakeology because I was having all kinds of stomach trouble and I wanted to fix it. And it did. And I can tell people that. I can say like, hey, I took it and this is what it did for my poop. I cannot tell people, hey, if you take this, it's going to cure all the problems you've had with your gallbladder. Research doesn't really do that for us. So while it's important to understand all of the ingredients, and this is what they do, and this is, research shows that they can benefit people in this way, you also have to remember that you can't really safely encourage people to use it for that purpose specifically. That being said, there's a lot of research that has been done on a lot of the things that are in Shakeology that are really exciting. And we're going to kind of just dig right into that. So the first one, and again, let's talk about pronunciation because this is getting recorded. This will likely be painful to listen to. So the first ingredient that I kind of dug into was camu camu. It is actually an anti-inflammatory, is typically how you see it used in alternative medicine. One study was completed that said in patients who smoke specifically, and when we think about smokers, we think about like really extreme oxidative stress on the body. So it creates this increased oxidative stress, and in smokers specifically, this particular antioxidant actually improved immune function and reduced the oxidative stress. So they were able to do that through monitoring blood tests and pulmonary function. So it is something that you can really talk to people who are smokers, especially, and say like, hey, first of all, quit smoking because it's terrible for you. But second of all, you know, a lot of people have some function that they need to recover that can be achieved through excellent nutrition and through exercise. And so you want to tell those people, hey, you know, you can see that there are some antioxidants in this, some anti-inflammatory, you know, herbal medicine that we really have worked into this product, and it could benefit you in this way. Give it a shot. And, you know, Angie and I have talked a lot about the fact that, you know, we really do want to kind of get people to participate in some sort of study that can validate the use of Shakeology. And hopefully in the future, that's something that I would like to be involved in. So, you know, stay tuned. We're going to kind of start working in that direction. But as you go through this, and I am going to attach, for anybody who's joined after the beginning, I am going to attach all of the references from peer review that are going to support what we're going over right now. So the next one that we're going to talk about, when you look on your bag, it's going to say Luo Han Guo. I have no idea how to speak Chinese, but it's monk fruit. Monk fruit is awesome. And actually, one study said that the triterpenoid glycoside, which is a really fancy word for the antioxidant that's in it, can demonstrate anti-tumor properties in colorectal cancer and in throat cancer, which is exciting. And you have to consider that this is, two of the most prevalent cancers in the entire world. So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, if you have this rare thing that we did a study about, like they took two of the most rare or most prevalent kinds of cancer, and they really kind of saw, okay, with this alternative therapy, you do see, you know, fewer tumors, you see less cancer growth. And so we can say that. I mean, you have peer-reviewed evidence that is saying this is what's there. I feel like I'm about to get a question. Am I about to get a question? No, okay. Okay, so the next weird item is ashwagandha, which actually is one of my other favorite words. One study really said that ashwagandha is useful in weight management. This is especially true in individuals that have a high stress level, which, I mean, obviously common sense tells us good nutrition and exercises are great for stress. But this item specifically is talking about physical stress. So when you have a high level of physical stress, either through comorbid conditions, you know, you have hypertension, diabetes, you know, you have a lot of physical stress that's on your body from those. This is actually useful in helping to reduce the level of stress, which can improve weight management. Also, one very exciting study showed that ashwagandha could improve sexual function in women. That was actually a universal study. It was not of a specific age or with a specific illness. It was just in general. It was able to improve sexual function, which is always exciting. And I'm glad that there are only women on this call right now. So your next weird item is astragalus. To be honest, there's very little scientific research in human phases about this particular item. One study did show that human gastric cancer cells are affected by it and that it could have potential use in delaying growth. That was not actually done in active human patients, if that makes sense. So they took human cancer cells and saw that they were able to slow the growth of those specific cells. Now, that is super exciting research, but a lot more research would have to be done before that could really be legitimized in telling people, hey, take this and it's good for stomach cancer. The other study showed that it could be beneficial for bone growth. Hot topic here. This was actually done in mice. So that study definitely cannot be recommended for people, but it does kind of give you an idea of where research is headed in these areas there is a lot of really exciting research that's being done, especially in areas of cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure. A lot of these ingredients are being used in those studies, and they're effective definitely in rats, mice. So you're seeing a lot of that. And it's something we need to be following because it is going to help people further down the road. Medicine, especially for cancer, is so very expensive, so much better to avoid cancer in general. And so those are the reasons that we want to look to these things. But, as far as actual research that's in human phases, there's just not a whole lot there on this product. It is from a plant. So there's a lot to be said about, the idea of plant-based medicine. Not to say that there aren't plants that you can't, that you can eat that aren't harmful. But as a general rule, when we're looking at the stuff that's in Shakeology, a lot of it is food. So when I say things like, we don't have any research that's been done on humans, don't let that make you nervous. These are not chemicals that we're injecting into people. These are foods that we're putting into our mouth and digesting, just like we do lots of other plants. So keep that in mind as we go through this, because I am going to be just very honest about what I found. I'm not for making up research to push a product. I wanted to really see what it said and then put it out there so that we all kind of stay informed, especially in regard to telling people who are using this as a product to improve wellness. So next up on our item of weird stuff, cordyceps. One study indicated that this herb was able to improve the health-related quality of life for patients with moderate to severe asthma, which was a really interesting thing because in the study it actually was ingested, so it was not something where they cooked it up and smoked it and it improved their symptoms, but just in general it was able to improve asthmatic patients' quality of life. Part of that is due to the fact that it is a strong antioxidant. So again, that idea of oxidative stress in the body and the fact that it does really kind of create harder work for the body, and when we can relieve that oxidative stress, the body is able to function better, it's able to work better. So disease processes that are creating a tremendous amount of problems for people, we're able to kind of relieve some of the stress and let the body really work on itself. One of the important things in complementary and alternative medicine is the idea that the body is self-healing. So when you're talking about medicine in general, when you keep that in mind and we push this idea of health and wellness, of exercise and of good nutrition, those are some things that you want to definitely keep in the back of your mind, that when we relieve a lot of the stress on the body's able to really do amazing things to recover itself. The other thing with cordyceps, so another study on rats, poor rats, they get a raw deal. But one study indicated that it was able to protect the islet cells on the pancreas. And for anybody that doesn't know what those are, so the pancreas is responsible for producing insulin in the body. And so there are islet cells that are on the pancreas that actually do the insulin production, for lack of a better way to describe that. But in simple terms, that's kind of the idea. And so to be able to protect that could be an alternative treatment for diabetes. Again, this is in rats, so there's a long way to go before we can tell people that. But understanding that that's kind of the direction that they're headed with ingredients like this is the idea that it could be very protective of the pancreas that, does go through a tremendous amount of stress. And we see a lot of people as they're overweight and obese that, put a tremendous amount of stress on their pancreas and become diabetic. And so to be able to, first of all, prevent that from happening, but also to be able to turn some of that stress around and again, allow the body to, heal and be able to, reverse the effects of diabetes. Excuse me. Okay, so we're on to, I think we're on the 6th one. Oh, well done. Angie's upgraded. I got your upgrade notice. So moringa is the next item. It is actually neuroprotective, and what that means is that it does protect the nervous system. It is used by the complementary and alternative medicine community in combined therapy to treat neurodegenerative diseases. So this is actually something that people are already using. They do typically use it individually so that it's dosed correctly, but in general it has neuroprotective properties. This is kind of a cool concept in terms of degenerative neurologic disorders, things like Alzheimer's and dementia. So things that if we are able to protect the nervous system, that we'd be able to improve or prevent the progression or even just the beginning of those diseases. The maca, there's a lot of stuff about this right now in the news and in the medical community. So let's be honest, this is like super great for sex. One study showed that in women specifically who were postmenopausal, who took an antidepressant in a category that's called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, that it was able to improve sexual function in them, and it was also able to improve the quality of semen in men. So just some exciting research in that area. One more way that this is good for people who are old and who are young, people who need an antidepressant, people who don't. There's just a lot of quality stuff there, and who doesn't want better sex? Sorry about that. Spirulina, my favorite word. Sorry that I'm making Angie laugh. Spirulina is algae. Angie and I laughed a lot about algae earlier just because there's a lot of algae, which people think is gross. Algae is super good for you. It's a great source of protein. It's also a really great source of amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. And so spirulina in general, you see it in a lot of health food stores. I always love to tell people that, back when I was addicted to health food stores, I would buy spirulina crackers, and they are hands down the grossest product of all time. They tasted terrible, and I do not recommend them unless you love them, and then knock yourself out. But spirulina is algae. And so you also have chlorella, which is in Shakeology as well, which is, again, algae. And it has similar benefits, high protein, high amino acids. And then I've only got a couple of the weird ingredients left, but I have to be honest, the next two are absolutely my most favorite. They were the most exciting to research, only because there is a tremendous amount of research in these two areas. And they were the maitake and the reishi mushrooms. I called Angie earlier just totally geeking out about this article that I found that was just amazing about the maitake mushroom. So there are some phase 2 studies that indicate that in patients that have myelodysplastic syndrome, so those are like bone marrow cancers, that for those patients who specifically have some issues with white blood cell production, that it was able to reduce infection and slow cancer growth. So it improved, the white blood cell counts for these patients, which is super exciting and very challenging sometimes to do in modern medicine. But it really was kind of hailed the magic mushroom for legitimately good reasons. But the research that I did on it, there was one article that I was so excited about because the research was so quality. And so I am going to have that in the handout, and I'll highlight it just because it was my favorite article. But it was just a really well done project that was taken on. And so for that reason, you definitely can tell people like there's some quality research that's being done about the products in Shakeology, and that, definitely there is some legitimate research being done about cancer and the fact that a lot of these antioxidants and a lot of the products in Shakeology can, definitely benefit patients who have cancer. And we're going to talk specifically about cancer patients in a little bit, but a lot of patients can benefit tremendously from this product who have cancer. The last weird item, and it's not really super weird, but it's bilberry. And bilberry has actually, research shows that it improves eye function, which is one thing that's exciting. This product is very well-rounded, but bilberry specifically can improve eye function in people who have like eye-stressing jobs. So if you work in front of a computer, you're actually really can benefit from supplementation of bilberry. So it is something to consider. You have to, again, consider that a lot of the research is done in specific amounts and by isolating bilberry. So we know that it can do that. And we know that, Shakeology has that in it. More research really needs to be done specifically about individual conditions in Shakeology. And those are things that we definitely want to see happen in the future. How am I doing on time, Ange? Good. Okay. sorry, I know there's just a ton of information. One of the reasons we wanted to split this was so that you guys didn't all fall asleep right at about this point. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who should take Shakeology. Short answer, pretty much everyone. You know, there are very few people who don't benefit from Shakeology. Those people are important though, and we are going to talk about them. So we're going to kind of combine. Originally, when I talked about this, I talked about doing kind of just specifically who needs it, who doesn't. But in the form of Q&A, a lot of these actually came up, and so we're going to kind of make that transition now. As far as people who should take it, definitely athletes. Athletes are going to benefit hugely from Shakeology. It's got a huge source of protein, which is super important for building muscle. Non-athletes, I clearly drink it every day. So it's definitely good for non-athletes. People with cancer, absolutely. So people who do chemo and radiation, you see a lot of them that come in that have tremendous weight loss and tremendous, specifically protein malnutrition. And so they definitely want to supplement through high protein diets because it can benefit their overall wellness. Shakeology is the perfect product for that. Because of its high protein and the quality of protein that it has, but also because of the antioxidants that are available that reduce oxidative stress that can occur through chemotherapy and radiation. So when you're talking to people about this product in regard to that, it is an excellent product as far as being able to say, you know, you're malnourished and this is a great meal replacement. It's a great supplement. Drink it all day long. Throw a scoop of ice cream in there if you need it. Like whatever you need to do, you know, to be able to really choke it down, because when you have cancer, nothing tastes good. So, you know, it's one of those things that you really can tell people, though, that this can benefit you, your overall health and wellness and your immune system. People with diabetes, this is probably one of those topics that really needs an entire phone call. Diabetes is increasingly prevalent in our society because of obesity and because just poor nutrition in general. This is a great product for diabetics. Its glycemic index is very low, which means that it's not going to just jack your sugar through the roof. It is very high protein, which is also important. But you do have a lot of, you know, research being done on some of this alternative medicine that's in it that can help improve blood sugars as far as in the early trials that we're seeing. So, I mean, it's definitely something you can recommend. One of the beauties of Beachbody in general is that when you recommend a product like this to somebody who is diabetic, that it is not just a bag of protein powder. And that is one important thing, and one reason that I feel like, you know, an entire call could be dedicated to just diabetics, because the importance of excellent nutrition and exercise in reducing blood sugars is, you know, that we know that it works, and we know that you can, you know, reverse a lot of the effects of diabetes, and that you can, you know, improve the function of the body and decrease insulin resistance, which is a huge problem with obesity. So we know that through losing weight, through exercise, through good nutrition, we can improve the body's ability to receive insulin and use it correctly. And so that's one of the reasons this product works so well for diabetics, is because the entire program is made to help the body do what it's supposed to do. So we will eventually have that phone call. So there is actually one category of people that really should not have Shakeology. And I wish this was one of those times where I'm like, psych, but legitimately when you talk to somebody who has kidney disease, people with kidney disease should be on low protein diets. So while I would love to be like, oh, everybody should take it, it can actually be dangerous for a person who does not have adequate kidney function. So especially when you think diabetes and kidney function a lot of times go together. So that is something that you need to talk to people about, which most people who are diabetic know how their kidneys are functioning, because that's something their doctor talks to them about. And you can say, you know, how your kidney's doing. In the early stages of diabetes, this product is fantastic. You know, we're going to help you lose weight. You're going to exercise. Your insulin resistance is going to be way better. And we're going to get you kind of back on the right track. Later in the disease, that process does impact your kidneys. You really do need to take caution. You need to protect your kidneys because they're just not able to process protein. And so it can create tremendous problems for somebody who has kidney function issues. and you need to recommend that they talk to their doctor. That being said, it may be one of those things where they say, your nutrition stinks, have half a scoop. And, you may talk to them about that. I would be very cautious in being like a pushy salesman in that area. I would tell them, like, here's the product information, talk to your doctor. If it's something that your doctor says is going to be good for you, let's make it happen. But if your doctor says, this is not a good idea, we need to really rely on them to know more about that patient and how their kidneys are going to process protein. So that is very high level. We're going to not get super crazy in that. The number one question that I get, and we're going to jump right into the Q&A because I do not want to keep you guys longer than an hour because that's crazy. So the number one question I get is why Shakeology instead of other stuff? So I'm going to be really straightforward and honest with people. Before I, was a discount coach with Shakeology, I actually was a pretty successful ambassador for another company. And, I worked that business and I did pretty well doing it. And it was a quality product that I believed in. I did research before I signed on with that. One of the things I want people to understand when they talk about, other products that are on the market, it's not really about bashing another product or saying, oh, their product's not good. There are tons of good products on the market, quality products with good research, and you don't want to take that away because you don't want to become dishonest. You don't want to say oh, there's no other quality product. What I can say, having sold other products, is that the cost to benefit for Shakeology is so much higher that it was an easy transition to make. I mean, just no hesitation. So I did kind of a cost breakdown for another company and Shakeology. And I mean, most of us are coaches. So, Shakeology, you talk about your starter pack, you're going to spend $160, right? You're going to get workouts. You're going to get a month of Shakeology. You're going to get a huge community of people that, are going to push you and help you be successful. You're going to get containers. You're going to get all kinds of stuff for $160, which seems like a lot. But to be honest, based on the cost of medication that I see people taking, I would totally rather pay for a protein shake. So that's kind of my approach when I talk to people is you can pay $300 a vial of insulin, or, you can spend $130 and, eat and enjoy it. But that really is kind of your total cost. Don't get me wrong. We have lots of, boosts that we can put in our Shakeology that are great. I love them and, I use them. So we do have that. But as far as just basic, for cost comparison, this is basic, $160. To join other companies as just a retail customer, you have one company whose name shall not be named, but they market a pink drink. And what I did was I looked through their products and I evaluated what would be the equivalent of what we get just in Shakeology. Keep in mind, they don't have any kind of exercise program. They don't have quite the community of support. They do, challenge groups and things like we do, but without workouts, without access to what we get through Beachbody On Demand, which, but to just do the basic program that would be the equivalent of what we do with Shakeology, you have a probiotic, a magnesium supplement, and a pink drink that'll run you $150 a month. You have a multivitamin, which would be necessary, that'll run you $40 a month. And you have protein shakes that for 30 days would cost you $90 a month, and some change. Change goes back and forth, but your total on that is $279.77. And that's just to match the Shakeology. That's not including really the other benefits of what we do. And so, both companies included monetary incentives for work in the business. And you definitely see that. Is a reason that people are drawn to it. It's one of the things that I tell people when they come with quality products that they've snagged from GNC. What's the difference? I can spend less money on this. And that's one of the things we really talk about is, okay, yes, I mean, sure, they're quality products, but, nobody from that company is going to call you. Nobody's going to be like, hey, we're really excited that you want to do this and we want to help you and we want to do this journey with you and we want you to talk about it and we want you to tell people. There is no monetary incentive for getting somebody else to drink it with you. So, there's just a lot to the Beachbody concept and what we do as coaches that makes it totally worth the investment. But in just basic cost comparison, even in a network marketing company, your benefit is way higher with what we do, and your cost is way lower. So there is that. One of the other questions that we actually got on the page for Q&A was, does Shakeology have folic acid? And I told Angie I was going to cover this just so she had a little warning, because short answer is yes, there's folic acid in Shakeology. I think one of the reasons that question gets asked is because of pregnancy. You do hear people that, they're concerned about folic acid in pregnancy, as well they should be. It helps you develop your spine. But the long answer for that in regard to, can I take Shakeology while I'm pregnant? There are lots of people that do. And, they talk to their doctor and their doctor says that, yes, that's fine. It is definitely something that you need to talk to your doctor or your midwife if that's how you roll. You definitely want to talk to them. There are some concerns in pregnancy with overdoing it on specific vitamins, and as far as what your body should process and what it can take while you're pregnant. Obviously, it's very important that you be cautious because, you're not just talking to one person, you're talking about two. And so you want to make sure that you're very careful to not overpush a product that may actually, create a problem for somebody down the road. So definitely when you're talking to somebody who's pregnant or who wants to get pregnant, you need to have them run that by their OB, take a bag and say like, hey, what do you think? What about what's in this? Is it too much? Is it going to be safe for me? And let a doctor really make that decision for you and with you. So that's really all I've got as far as for tonight. I know that was really kind of overwhelming and rapid fire. Does anybody have questions right now? No additional prenatal. Amber, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that, if your OB is good with it, I say go for it. There are specific concerns with having vitamin levels that are at 100%. And so specifically vitamin A, there's some research that says you should be cautious with vitamin A when you're pregnant. And so that is kind of, as far as what I'm seeing, and especially online communities that are talking about it, is that specific question, in regard to overdoing it on vitamins. I mean, I can't even list the number of Big Macs I ate while I was pregnant, so I'm not, I'm not one to discourage good nutrition. I'm apparently not one to encourage good nutrition either, since I just bragged about eating Big Macs while I was pregnant. So I guess it goes both ways. Well, I super appreciate everybody listening to me ramble for almost an hour. You guys are awesome.
Okay, I'm going to unmute myself, so hopefully there's not too much background.
All right.
Maybe I'll mute you in a second. Okay, awesome. Thanks. No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on this call, especially through going through the education. I know specifically I will go back and listen to it and take notes. And I know it'll be great to have your the resources and everything attached to the file. So we'll put that in our group page. But I think that the biggest premise is, the more that we talk about it, the more that we surround ourselves with weird ingredients, regular ingredients, this is important to us, right? And I loved how you put it as far as like the benefit and being a part of that community. And that's what I fell in love with. When I fell in love with, not only are there products, right? But there's that solution attached with the products. And so I'm not only working on myself and my health and being preventative, but I'm also able to share that with others, and we still can make an income while making an impact. And, you'll hear that a lot, but to me, that just really is such a beautiful way to be able to bring the community together and to grow and to educate and to be the examples for our families. I hope to be a mom one day, and I'm glad I have this information. That way I know ahead of time, like what I can do and what I feel comfortable, what I'm going to be putting into the body. but also to realize, you have people concerned about Shakeology when, yeah, we're going to be eating Big Macs as well. So I mean, like there's things that we're weighing out. But thank you so much. This call didn't go too long. Not that it mattered if it would have gone a little bit longer, but I'm excited for the next call, and we will get this recording in our group page. And maybe we'll even have like little bullet points too for the outline of the ingredients you specifically went over. And if people have any other questions in regards to that, but I think you hit the points, very concise to the point, and moved on. So yes, it was, good rapid fire. But like I said, the more that we, review it, the better that we're going to be in general, and coaches. So thank you so much, Brianna. Okay, so what I'll do is if anyone has anything else, I think we're good. I'll just end the meeting and we'll talk soon. Okay? Good night, guys. Bye.